Shemala, Terem Ko Yitzini Ra, Don Olam Hashem Allah, Terem Ko Yitzini Ra. Oh, hi there. Oh, they say you can sing a Don Olam to any tune, but this would be a particularly good one, perhaps for our upcoming Rockin' Shabbat on Friday, June 18th, and I'm pretty sure it's not going to be included. A Don Olam to I Wanna Rock and Roll All Night by the kings of 70s and 80s schlocky hard rock, Kiss. I vividly remember being proud of my Kiss lunchbox in early elementary school, with the classic make-up faces of the 4 members of the band. Not that I really knew any of their music in kindergarten or first grade. By the time I was getting into hard rock and heavy metal in my preteen years, I also remember being incredibly surprised and proud to discover that 2 of the 4 members of Kiss, fully 50% of the band, were Jewish. Stanley Bert Eisen, who goes by Paul Stanley, aka the Star Child, and Chaim Witz, who's better known as Gene Simmons, aka the Demon. They were in several bands together before they joined together with Peter Criss and Ace Frehley to change rock and roll history. Today, I want to zoom in on the fascinating story of Gene Simmons. Born in Rambam Hospital in Haifa, Israel in 1949, just 1 year after the founding of the state, both of his parents were recent immigrants from Hungary, his mother coming just after her liberation from the Mauthausen concentration camp. Both parents had lost almost their entire families in the Holocaust. The family situation was very difficult in the Tirat Carmel section of Haifa, a storied, impoverished section of the city. Shortly after his parents' divorce, Simmons moved with his mother to New York City at age 8. He briefly attended an Orthodox yeshiva in Queens, but soon thereafter went on to the New York City public school system, followed by attending Sullivan Community College and then Richmond College, where he graduated with a degree in education. He even worked for a time as a 6th grade teacher on the Upper West Side of New York following graduation. While his stint as an educator and in several other jobs was short-lived, he began a career in music that continues until today. He'd been in various bands since the mid-1960s and was deeply inspired by seeing the Beatles on The Ed Sullivan Show. Forming Kiss in the early 1970s, they released their eponymous first album in 1974. The rest is rock and roll history. The stage makeup, the antics, they were all an early hallmark of the band, as was their act of being the wildest, most out-of-control rock and roll band of all time. Gene Simmons was the mastermind behind their marketing and merchandise, and Kiss certainly saw the potential in translating their music into a profitable enterprise in virtually every medium, hence my elementary school lunchbox. Simmons was primarily the bassist of the band, but frequently switched off with Paul Stanley in taking lead vocals, mostly when he didn't have his legendarily enormous tongue hanging out of his mouth or wasn't spitting fire. He was proud of his reputation for rock and roll debauchery, and he claimed to have slept with 5,000 women in various hotel rooms, keeping a key and a Polaroid picture from each encounter. He'd had live-in relationships with both Cher and Diana Ross before meeting his longtime partner and eventual wife, Playboy playmate Shannon Tweed. They've been together since 1983, but did not marry until 28 years into their relationship. In a highly publicized incident, Tweed says she confronted Simmons after finding the keys and the Polaroids from his encounters, and then burned the pictures on live TV during his reality TV show featuring their family life, The Family Jewels. We can make no excuses for the fact that Simmons has clearly been a symbol of the worst kind of rock and roll male chauvinism, and he's certainly not a role model to follow there. His life and career have not been without their share of scandals and allegations. Make no mistake, I am not posing Gene Simmons as the ideal mensch. However, in a business where many performers conceal or downplay their Jewish heritage, Gene Simmons has always been proud of both his Jewish and Israeli roots. In an episode of the reality TV show, he traveled back to Haifa with his family and had reunions with several people from his childhood. He also met for the first time his step-siblings from his father's subsequent marriages, and he was filmed saying Kaddish there at his father's grave. He's had several trips to Yad Vashem where he traced elements of the fate of his mother's family, nearly all of whom were murdered in the Holocaust. And as recent as just a few weeks ago, he had a well-publicized meeting with an American World War II veteran who was 100 years old. This soldier participated in the liberation of his mother from Mauthausen concentration camp. He expressed his gratitude to the soldier, as he has to the role that the U.S. military played in defeating the Nazis. Repeatedly, he has reminded the world that without this intervention and his mother's survival, he would have never been born. Chaim Witz, Gene Simmons, the Demon, or Dr. Love, whatever you call him, as he sang in the familiar version of Adon Olam, "You drive us mad, we'll drive you crazy." Tune in again next week for another Who's Who Among the Jews.